What an episode of Severance, episode 4. We're just going to get right into it because there's so many questions and details and clues. There's so much going on. Let's just go. First thing we're going to talk about is how this episode opens and how it closes.
May Kier's mercy follow you into the eternal dark. Now.
Did y'all see that? It opened with the effect of the innie becoming present, and then it opened with the effect of the outie becoming present. In that just opening and closing and the mirroring of it, amazing. But also, it reveals to us that a theory that people were having is true, which is that the elevator ding has an effect on activating the chip. It probably has to do with some type of wavelength, because we hear it right there at the beginning when Irving becomes his innie, and then we also hear it when Helena becomes Helly R. So I don't know, maybe it's not even an elevator ding. Maybe it's a noise they hear themselves. People had this theory because in episode 2, when Helena went down the elevator, the ding didn't happen, but for everybody else it did. And so there's some type of truth to that theory. Also, when Milchick says the eternal dark, is he talking about something to do with the export hallway possibly? I don't know. So after Irving wakes up, we find that he's here in the middle of this frozen lake. Now, I brought this up in my last video. The idea of snow and winter and all that is extremely important in this season for some reason. Especially because when you think of Lumen, you think of water. And now we have a bunch of frozen water here. And also in the intro of the show, there's like this frozen lake that they're on. Right here, right? They're on some type of frozen lake and he finds a way to escape by going onto this balloon, right? And what's also interesting about that is that in this frozen lake, in this place, there was the twins of all the different severed employees. Now, what exactly were those things? Were they clones? Were they animatronics? Was it like a hallucination? What were they? By the way, we're going to be going back to the intro a lot in this video because I feel like a lot got revealed of the intro in this episode. Now, we're assuming that the Audis actually went to this location in the world because Milchick in this video says with the Audis' approval, they were able to go on this retreat. But I'm not so sure this is actually the real world because this right here makes no sense. How is there a TV? There's no plugs. There's no nothing. It's just the TV. How does that thing even have power on it? My wild theory for what this place is this is the testing floor. They're literally testing the employees right here. And I'm just wondering if when they send someone to the testing floor, they actually do send them in the export hall and then go ship them somewhere and test them, right? And I think this could be a part of that because I don't know why the Audis would agree to something like this, especially Mark, since he's been reintegrated. I wonder why he would ever agree to something like this. And if it is real life, then what in the world are these doubles that they're seeing? Is it actually animatronics? Like that'd be wild. And if it's not, then any other type of theory you could think of would not make sense to happen in like the actual world, right? I don't know, some type of Matrix situation, hallucinations, clones. I don't know. Like it's strange. So I want to know, where are these people? Where are they actually? My wife said when they were on this hill, it reminded her of that video that played on the computer where Kier is like on top of the mountain and like flies around. I have no idea where this place is at. So in my last video, I said we have to start paying attention to the number 4 or quarters of things. And so now there's this new book that's Appendix 4, right? What in the world is going on with all of these 4s?
As he spilt his lineage upon the soil.
Spilt his lineage on the soil. That comes back, I'm telling you. Let's get into that line real quick. Because guess who else ends up spilling their lineage on the soil? And this is... this theory I'm about to say is crazy. Now, if Mark got Helena pregnant right there, it would explain this part of the intro. Hear me out. There's snow in this shot. It's any Mark in the shot. And there's a bed in this shot with a baby Kier. And if the theory's correct that the idea is to resurrect Kier, what if Mark just set that in motion and he's daddy of baby Kier? Also, is this right here supposed to resemble that book that they just found, the 4th appendix? I also think it's saying that Cobell is somehow the one narrating Mark's story. Like she's behind it. Like she's kind of pulling strings here and there. Also, this point kind of got looked over a little bit. But I'm not sure this is actually a seal, a dead seal. I don't see it. And it's like Milchick tells that story of the brother becoming all deformed and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm wondering like if there's something else to that dead thing than it being a seal. I don't know. But then we get another shot of the twins that I don't understand how it would be animatronics, because we get this shot right here. So to our knowledge, Milchick and Miss Wong are the only two people here. So like they carried all the animatronics to the same spot, or these like robots that can move, or like, well, how'd they get there? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's weird. So the importance of this scene to me is the fact that Helena started to laugh, because it shows us that these stories they keep telling about the Egan's are just these made up things, which as viewers, we already know to not believe this stuff, right? But what's interesting is like, it really makes you wonder what information about the Egan's is real, what information about Kier is real, and what information have they made up to deify him? Because obviously Helly knows the truth. Well, Helena knows the truth about, you know, her family history, and she finds this ridiculous. And so that really makes you wonder what's the truth. Now, this dream that Irving has, I have a million questions about. We all do. But to start off, I have a very simple question. Irving has brought up before to Dylan that, you know, he has dreams, but we don't really know how Innies dream, when they dream. Like, we never see Innie sleep, right? So do the other Innies have dreams, or is it just Irving? Also, Irving, his Audi earlier in the season said that he got a message to his Innie, which makes me think it was something subconscious. So maybe he found a way to tell him stuff in his dreams. But let's go through this dream real quick. So he sees Bert, right? So that could be his subconscious. You know, he's just in love, right? But then over here, when he sees Woe in a second, right here, which interesting is this is actually where Helly sits in relation to him at the office. That's kind of interesting. Then he starts seeing a code here. The project is called Montauk, and the code at first is 1, 5, and 7 and 4, I believe. Yep. But then more numbers pop up, and then it obviously forms a bunch of Egan. Like, you can make Egan out of what's being popped up right here, right? But then if you like slow it down, you also kind of see a face at one point, and then you also see an eye. Now the eye, going back to the intro again, reminds me of this. And what I realized watching that back too that's interesting is that it's Innie Mark that has another Mark inside of him. Which, does that mean like Audi Mark gets trapped inside of Innie Mark at one point? I don't know. But yeah, that as soon as I saw that eye on the screen, that's what I thought of was the intro, where we just see the one eye popping out of his head. But let's hear what Milchick had to say about Woe.
A gaunt bride, half the height of a natural woman. She spoke to me directly from her eyes and said, "This is your doing. You suffered his wantonness. Now he's no one's brother, only chaos's whore."
The idea of communicating through eyes was a huge theme of this episode. There were so many times where people weren't talking and everything was being said through their eyes. And then even Irving kind of makes a joke about Mark and Helly.
Using your pupils to make love to her, while your Audie's wife rots away somewhere.
Hey! And besides that, there's just so many scenes of communication happening between eyes, like when Helly goes in Irving's tent, or when Irving is just staring down Milchick at the very end of the episode. Now, obviously, there's a lot we got to talk about with the best scene from this episode, the most shocking, right? There's so many details here I'm going to point out.
Hey, kid.
Irving.
So this just shows the disconnect once again between Irving and Helly, because when he says, "Hey, kids," everyone in the office usually replies, "What's for dinner?" Because that's like his catchphrase.
He's a fucking mole!
What are you doing?
I'm gonna kill her, Mr. Milchick!
Does that remind you of something? Foreshadowing, right? Which made me look at what happens to Irving right after that.
To our brand new playful mirror room.
So that obviously foreshadows what's going to happen to Irving somehow. That must be the eternal darkness place that Milchick is talking about.
Turn her back!
God damn it, Seth, do it!
Yes! Do it, Seth!
Two big things here. The dialogue, "God damn it, do it, Seth." God to them is Kier Egan, right? And the Egans are the ones calling the shots for Seth, right? And so when she says, God damn it, do it, Seth, she's saying, screw God, screw Kier, just do it. Like, I'm not dying, right? And then also her revealing that his name is Seth. Remember last episode, Dylan's wife called him Seth and Miss Wong didn't want him to know that. So now Dylan knows who Seth is and who his wife is referring to. I think that's going to come back. Also, what's extremely interesting when we take religious symbolism into play here is that Helly's being baptized in a Kier lake and becomes Helly R. That's gonna, the symbolism in that is amazing.
I should have listened!
It's okay. It's all okay. Just remember, hang in there.
Two things. One, the irony of Dylan saying he should have listened when the whole memo is Lumen is listening. But then also, Irving has to be speaking in some type of code when he says, remember, hang in there. It's like he's telling him something specifically to do later on. Because the phrase hang in there was also in the projector room where they saw that little claymation thing with Keanu Reeves as the building.
Your workspace will be cleared and any personal items discarded. Your file, including any and all professional interactions and personal relations, will be purged and destroyed. It will be as if you, Irving B., never even existed nor drew a single breath upon this earth.
What's interesting there is we didn't really know before this that they could like just completely wipe somebody from existence, right? Which makes you think, who else has worked at Lumen before? Will they remember Irving? Dylan and Mark and Helly, are they gonna remember him or are they gonna forget him? Because Milchick is saying it's gonna be like he never existed. So they're obviously like gonna wipe their memory or something, right? Which makes you think, okay, like who have they brainwashed people before? Have they like what's going on? You know what I mean? So here's what I think is gonna happen due to this episode. So we saw the foreshadowing, like I said, of Helly bobbing for pineapples and and then Irving was in this place with all these mirrors and stuff like that, but also there was this part of the claymation too.
Let's burn this place to the ground.
Now, mind you, that was a quote from season 1, but remember the fire, let's burn this place to the ground. Look at what I realized happens at the end of this episode. And then look, fire extinguisher, Miss Wong, right to Irving standing alone. I also think this is where he got the message from his Audi. I actually do think he left the stairwell. I do think he actually did that, which is why he enters the room last when everybody comes into the room at the end. And I think his Audi was able to give him a message in that stairwell somehow. And so I think Irving is somehow going to burn this place down. I do. I think he's gonna burn it down somehow, either metaphorically or literally. But man, what an amazing episode. Y'all leave comments below on what theories you have, where you think things are gonna go, your favorite parts of the episode, all that. Until next week, I'll see y'all.